Welcome into the archives, where we talk about games hidden in our Steam libraries to find hidden gems within. Today we are talking about Cyberhook. So 3, 2, 1, let's go! Cyberhook is a motion 3D platformer with the emphasis on momentum. Very much like Mirror's Edge, except with less story and surprisingly more freedom, as the game introduces you with the grappling hook, to allow you to swing from certain blocks and also to let you pull towards said blocks. For momentum, that gives you a sense of thinking like Spider-Man when they swing around, except you have a few extra tools to help you through, such as the ability to wall run and double jump, on-demand bullet time, and finger guns that don't kill by cringe, but by lasers. As you will travel through over 70 levels, including the few in the Steam Workshop, where each level's objective is, reach the exit gate and don't die. It does not care how you reach it, as it grades you based on how fast you reach the gate and whether or not you had to use bullet time. Depending on these results, you'll receive up to 3 crystals, which you could think of as stars, where 3 is the best. It can also compare your score to the rest of the world and your local country. But remember these crystals, as they will be important later. Now the art style is pretty simple, giving the retro blocky style of old computer graphics, very classic Tron-esque I'd say, but much more transparent, as you'll be introduced with several types of blocks you need to worry about. Blue is a normal block that you can use with your grappling hook on. Purple allows you to do the same thing, but will kill you if you touch it. Yellow is a neutral block and does not allow grapples, but you can run and wall run on. Red kills you if you touch it directly and is unable to be grappled. Lastly, green blocks are like yellow blocks, but your laser fingers can destroy them. Followed up with these little towers that, when shot, do a thing, usually good things. This art style is very much like Mirror's Edge, gives you a simple but elegant way to deal with its fast-paced movement, where everything is color-coded, so once you get the mechanics down, you'll be able to recognize them easily when you're running through a level. Also, the crosshair is simplified to remind you if you have your double jump available, and if your grappling hook is in range at what you're looking at, which leads me to say the mechanics and physics are terrific, and is even praised by people who didn't even like the game, which is annoying, by the way, because that means I can't blame the game for any loss of momentum or stupid deaths by me, which the practice room and the beginning levels are great at introducing in ways to go fast and stay consistent, especially if you're trying to get the 3 crystal grade in each of those starter levels. Another great mention is at the start of each level, a camera guides you on a path you can take to reach the end, showing you generally the whole map. However, this isn't necessarily the best way to reach the end. As I said before, it does not matter how you reach the end, just make it to the gate. So if you find a way that slingshots you across the map, or run up a tower on the outside to avoid the obstacles on the inside, that's great. It might be the most effective route, meaning levels may have 3 or more potential ways to finish it, where one is the obvious path, where the other 2 may be more effective a way to get the 3 crystal grade. So don't be afraid to think outside the box and swing around to run face first into the portal in the end. But what if you face first to a red block and die? No worries, you start at the beginning of the level, but these levels are usually anywhere from 20 seconds to a minute long, so you're not starting really far back, causing you to lose much progress. The natural restart gets you right back in the action with a 3, 2, 1 countdown, as there's not really much of a loading screen to prepare you. However, when you're running across one of those levels that take about a minute, it feels so much longer than it actually is, which I believe is a credit on how well it brings your focus. Now, I do have one major problem on how this game handles its levels, which is something commonly known as level gating. For those who don't know, level gating is a way for a game to restrict the player's progress until the player completes an objective or collects a certain amount of objects. You remember those crystals we were talking about? Well, this is what determines on how far you get to play, as every 12 levels or so are locked behind a level gate where you need to collect a certain amount of crystals to unlock each section. Now, this isn't inherently a bad game design. However, once you start to reach the end game, it's no longer good enough for you to barely scrape by the levels with a single crystal grade, with a few 2 or 3 as well on levels you kick to the curb, which means there may be a certain point where if you want to continue, you will have to repeat certain levels over and over again until you can get that 3 crystal rating, which can be frustratingly difficult to the point where it makes you want to walk away from the game, as some of us don't have the time to sit down and perfect our movement skills or try to master a single level, which can get in the way of seeing the game in its entirety and overall enjoyment of it. There is a way to watch replays of people on the leaderboards if you want to see professionals work on the same levels you're on, to get some ideas and tips on how to succeed. Such as this level, I had a little more difficulty in because I climbed the tower not thinking there was another way in, which led to more of a slow-paced gameplay, which surprisingly threw me in a loop. Rather being a mix of speed and control, it was mostly control for me to make it to the end. Then I saw this guy blast through the level and made my jaw drop on the desk, like, holy crap, how even? He barely used bullet time. Maybe like a whole second of adding all 3 uses together? Like, mad props, Audacity. God, that's freaking nuts. A couple other minor complaints would be of the very limited soundtrack, as it has a little to no variety, but is really good. Just like after level 40, would be nice to hear something else. Also, something motion games like this can't fully control is motion sickness. I swear, after playing this game for about an hour, I kept seeing speed lines, giving me a minor headache for a few minutes after pulling away from the screen. Again, I don't think this is the game's fault. They have options to allow you to adjust the camera so it doesn't shake you all about. Also, there is a good place to look for some quality of life features if you really want to dig into this game. Just go look under the speedrun tab. Would I recommend picking this up? Yes, with a disclaimer. The game is running about $15, around 7-ish on a summer sale. Now, I clocked a little bit over 2 hours into this game, which does not seem like a lot, does it, considering the price? Well, I had a blast going through the levels that I could, around 47 of them, I believe. Very short playtime for the amount you're paying for. The thing is, your playtime is going to be considerably different if you actually put in the time to master the game's mechanics and try to complete the story fully. See, for me, this is something I could fire up and play for a half hour to a full one. After that, however, I need a break and should probably move on to something else, which the game is real easy to pick up again, even if you delay it by a couple of weeks, like I did trying to hammer out my demo reel videos. So if you're really into these motion platformer games, this is a great one to test your skills and definitely worth the price. If you're like me, I would say wait to get it in a bundle or sale because the amount of value we may get from it might be inferior comparatively, which is not a bad thing. I feel as this is a fun game to give your best shot at, so consider how much time you're willing to put in to learn the physics and test your patience to get that sweet, sweet golden finish. Hope you guys enjoyed this entry. I didn't think I would put this much thought into something I would consider a simple game, but the more I thought about it, the more I appreciated the overall experience and wanted to make sure you got a good feeling what Cyberhook is all about and what to consider. So I hope I did justice to that. Now, if you excuse me, I think I need to see what would happen to France if we threw it in an Inception movie in our next installment, Europa. Until then, enjoy the archives.